Howdy, howdy, everybody. This is Colin, back at it again with another movie review. Today I'm going to be talking about the highly anticipated Five Nights at Freddy's movie. Just came out a couple days ago. I watched it last night. Definitely have some thoughts about it as somebody who has been a longtime fan of the series, played all the games, and been pretty invested in the lore. We'll get into that. So with that being said, if you have not seen it yet and want to, this video will contain some spoilers, so I would recommend you click away now. So, this is a Blumhouse movie. That can be a good or a bad thing. They've made some really good movies and some really poor movies. This one's kind of in the middle. We'll talk a little bit about that. I definitely think this movie is not the worst one they've made, but I think they've also made some better ones as well. It was directed by Emma Tammy and produced by Scott Cawthon and Jason Blum. Now, Scott Cawthon is the original creator of all the Five Nights at Freddy's game, is kind of the origin of all the lore and the story for what this movie is based on, and he was heavily involved in this production as well, so that definitely shows through. So, the good things about this movie. It's a great fan service, and especially being like a video game adaptation, a lot of those usually suck, but this one is quite good in that sense. It's a great fan service, a lot of references and cool, set designs that are a callback to the first game specifically. A lot of posters and props, and even the layout of the pizzeria in the movie is accurate to the first game, which I thought was quite cool, especially seeing like the whole layout of the office and the camera system. And there were a few liberties taken, but for the most part, it was very accurate, and that was something I could appreciate quite a bit as a fan of the series. So, the set design was very, very, very good. Nailed the 80s sort of Chuck E. Cheese aesthetic that it was going for, that it's based on, and the sets were great. And like I said, it very much followed the original layout of the first game, so, it was easily recognizable to me as a fan. And just the ambiance and the lighting and everything in the pizzeria and all the cool lighting and games and stuff that were in there was pretty cool to see. So the set design is excellent. However, what steals the show in my opinion is the animatronic design. Top tier, like S tier. It's all practical effects, which is something I very much appreciate. I think the only CGI animatronic in this movie is Chica's cupcake, which makes sense. But besides that, it's all practical, all like suits and puppets and stuff that was all done by hand by real people. So, for me, that's a big thing because I feel like practical effects are kind of a lost art, especially in the modern horror movie sort of scene. A lot of it's CGI now, and CGI can be very good and is in fact very good, very realistic looking, but nothing quite beats that practical effect sort of realism that you get with that sort of effect style. So that was something I appreciated quite a bit. Another standout part of this movie is Matthew Lillard. He does a great job portraying William Afton, who is our main antagonist in this movie. Plus, he's just a legendary actor. I mean, he was in Scream and the live-action Scooby-Doo movies, and he's just a really cool dude. Aged quite nicely. He's still got it, as people would say. But he really does a good job portraying William Afton. He's got a very good energy about him, vibe about him, and overall, he just really nails the role. And being that he's the main antagonist of the series, I think that's very important. He definitely knocked it out of the park. Going on about the story, did a very decent job condensing down a lot of the lore. I mean, this game series has an insane amount of lore and theories and fan made sort of ideas and concepts about it, and it condensed it all into a single movie in a way that was very digestible, which was definitely not an easy feat. And overall, I thought that was a very impressive part of the movie, being able that they were able to take all of this crazy supernatural stuff that, the dead kids possessing the animatronics, and the whole bite of 87 sort of animatronics being evil, and William Afton being a murderer, child murderer, and all that. They condensed all of that down into one movie that was easy to understand. So that is a big feat in my opinion. And last but not least, for the good parts, I would say the ending was very, very good. I really liked the way they did the ending with the Springlock suit. And it kind of sets up a sequel, I would say, especially if they're going to transition into the Five Nights at Freddy's 3 sort of haunted attraction thing where Springtrap gets unleashed again after being boarded up. and all that. That would definitely be something cool to see. And I mean, Blumhouse is pretty well known for doing sequels, so I think there could be one in the works for this movie. Who knows? So that covers most of the good stuff. I will say, though, there are quite a few stinker parts of this movie, and I don't know, it kind of leans it the other way. So, yeah, let's get started on that. So, besides Matthew Lillard, the acting is very stiff in this movie. Josh Hutcherson is a very good actor, at least in the movies I've seen him in, predominantly The Hunger Games. But I just don't really think he did great in this particular movie. I mean, he did the role decently, but I don't know. I don't really feel like his heart was in it. It was kind of, I don't know. He wasn't like the most likable guy, I guess, especially being our main protagonist. Like, he was just kind of an unlikable dude. And, I mean, that does kind of fit a little bit with the story, but at the same time, this is a movie and he is our protagonist, so you kind of want him to be somebody likable, and he just wasn't that. And the child actor that plays Abby, who is his sister in the film, is very bad. Her delivery is just very poor, especially in moments where it's supposed to be like a very serious moment, and she's just sitting here delivering these stiff as a board lines. And there's like this one scene where she gets like shocked by one of the animatronics, and she like wakes up from a daze, and just the way she delivers her lines, she's like, "I'm okay," or whatever. It's awful. Like, it's like laughably bad. So personally, I definitely would have recast this role, and I'm not meaning to talk ill on this child actor. I just don't think this role was good for her. On top of that, there were a lot of liberties taken with the source material that I felt weren't just necessarily good. Particularly this like subplot that was going on about this babysitter who was like babysitting Abby, and she was also like conniving behind the scenes to get Mike, who is the main character, Mike Schmidt, he's the security guard. He was trying to get Abby taken away from him. And I don't know, like, she was also an unlikable character, but she was like working with her brother, who was in tandem working with Mike Schmidt's like mother-in-law or something, like aunt maybe. I think she was his aunt, and she just sucks. Like, we just hate this woman, and I mean, that's good, that's kind of what she's supposed to be, but she just sucks. Like, she's just trying to take Abby away, and she like gets them to break into the pizzeria to try to get him fired from his job, and they end up all getting killed by the animatronics, and by all of them I mean everybody but the aunt, because she doesn't go. And like the whole subplot for that, like this sort of getting Abby taken away arc, is just dead after that. Like, it just never happens after that. And it's only like 30 or 40 minutes of the movie, and this is an hour and 45 minutes or an hour and 50 minutes or something like that. So like, that subplot made no sense, had nothing to do with the source material, and was just stupid. Like, to put it blank. Like, it was stupid, it was redundant, and played no part to the story at all. It's never really brought up again after the fact. And on top of that, being a horror movie, I just keep saying on top of that, but the scares were mediocre. I didn't jump at all. There were some jump scares in this movie, and there was like literally no tension building whatsoever. Like, I was never on the edge of my seat. And there again, I'm kind of conflicted, because this is a PG-13 horror movie about a game that is targeted towards younger audiences, but it is a horror movie, and it just doesn't feel scary. I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I'm conflicted, because, I love this series, but this is supposed to be a horror movie, but it's a really good fan service movie, but it's not scary. So it's kind of something like, I don't know, the tension building just wasn't there. And then there's this whole like other subplot liberty with the source material, where the animatronics are like friendly, like they're like playing with Abby, because she starts like accompanying Mike to work after the babysitter dies, because obviously she's not going to be able to come back, and they don't know what happened to her yet. So Mike starts taking her to work, and he's like working this night shift, and she starts just like playing with the animatronics, and they're chill. And like, there's this one scene where they build a fort, and then Vanessa, I haven't even talked about Vanessa yet. Vanessa's like a police officer, and Vanessa is a character in Security Breach, which is the latest Five Nights at Freddy's game, and she's like an evil security guard. But in this movie, she's like a friendly police officer, and she's like helping Mike and giving him advice, and it turns out that she's William Afton's daughter, and like she knows all about the place and everything that's going on and the missing kids and all that, and it's just like, what is happening? And she like comes in and they all build a fort with the animatronics, and Micah's like, what the hell is happening? And then I'm like, what the hell is happening? Because it makes no sense. Why are they being friendly? They're possessed by dead children. So I don't know. The fort building scene was probably the stupidest part in this movie. Even though it was like the most wholesome part, it also didn't fit in at all. And that kind of goes back to the liberties that they took with the source material that for me just didn't make sense. That kind of covers most of it. I mean, this is not a movie with a lot of like substance. It's a fan service movie, and it is a video game adaptation, and it did kind of have a sequel set up. So, you know, there's not a lot of substance here. If you're going in watching this movie with no knowledge of the Five Nights at Freddy's series, you're probably going to be very disappointed, because it is not a good horror movie in my opinion. And, you know, I hate to say that, because like I said, you know, I do like this series and I was looking forward to this movie, but it was a letdown. It did disappoint me. But on the other hand, as a fan service and looking at it through that lens, I mean, this is like an 8 out of 10 movie. I mean, the references to everything are there. The story, while despite having those liberties taken, is there. You know, it's something that as a fan of the series I can really appreciate, and it was just a goofy, corny movie. So I guess that kind of sums it up. Like, this is a goofy, corny horror movie, but it's not really scary. It's not a horror movie in the same way that The Exorcist is a horror movie, or The Conjuring, or even The Nun 2. Like, it's not that kind of horror movie. It is supernatural. There are some scenes in it that are scary, but you're not going to be jumping. You're not going to be on the edge of your seat. This is a movie specifically for the fans of Five Nights at Freddy's. That pretty much covers it. So with that being said, my rating, like I said, it was kind of going to be a little hard as a fan service. Like I said, I'm at an 8 out of 10, but just as a horror movie, I mean, this movie's like a 3 out of 10. So, you know, we're going to average those out, and we're just going to call this movie a 5 out of 10, 5.5 out of 10, whatever. I just can't, in good faith, give this movie a terrible score, because it is such a good fan service movie, but it is a very underwhelming and not scary horror movie. That's it. I mean, that covers it. That's my thoughts on the Five Nights at Freddy's movie. I hope y'all enjoyed this video. I definitely feel like I got a little more fired up in this one, but I mean, it is something like I was looking forward to this, and I did enjoy it, but at the same time, you know, I have to review it objectively. So I hope you all enjoyed this video. I will see y'all next time. Peace.